Sometimes you just need to get people pizza and porta-johns. So in my early incident management career, and that's where I used to go with other public safety folks or public health largely, and help people after disasters like Hurricane Helene, or plan big sporting events like marathons in a city, or even vice presidential debates that happened, on campuses. We would help plan the public safety component of that. And I was super rigid. I was trained up. I was just qualified planning section chief. I knew all the forms and the process inside and out. And I wondered, why isn't everybody just working with us day one when we show up everywhere? We're going to plan this event, right? Why isn't everybody being included? Why are they over there on their own? And my purest mind was just being blown. Fortunately, I had really good friends that helped me realize every little bit counts, so we'll get into that. And that sometimes we don't need to do the whole process. We need to focus on the needs of those people in front of us. This is where pizza and porta-johns comes in. But first,
welcome to the Hope is Not a Plane podcast, where we address tough questions head on, face our problems, and highlight our hopes by providing actionable planning steps to improve ourselves, mind, body, and spirit. Now, let's get logged in and get locked on to this episode of the Hope is Not a Plane podcast.
So this pizza and porta-johns analogy I mentioned in the start, it comes from when I was on a deployment, a real deployment, where we went to a multiple block fire in a city, and folks have been out all night. And we show up, and it's me and some of my teammates, and we're like, what do you need? And then they don't know what they need because they're overwhelmed. There's a lot going on. It's kind of like early in a project, or people have an idea. We know we have this problem, but we don't know what's going to solve it. Well, these folks had solved it. They've put the fire out. They've been out there directing traffic, getting a handle on it for all night, for hours and hours. Overwhelmed and tired, these folks that were in the command post there. And we said, okay, what do you really need? Because we could have said, okay, we're going to put all these forms up, these wall things, and pull out the documents and do all this and show, like, look at all what we know, but it's not going to help them. So we said, what do you really need? And they said, well, we're trying to get a handle on where our people are. We're trying to, see how we can get people breaks. So we said, got it. Accountability is one of the best things you can do for somebody when you show up after a disaster. Send people out to find where the people are, track them on a board. There's techniques for that. I'm not going to get into it. But we can know in this group, it's these folks. In this division area, it's these folks. And so we started to do that, and we started to help build a picture for them of accountability, which means safety. And that's huge. So then it was like, hey, they've been out all night, right? Have they eaten? Have they rotated through? And no. So we got pizza. Pizza's easy to get. You can get it in bulk. We can set it up and send it out there. We can distribute it to folks. So we got them those. And of course, everybody has biological needs. So we can't just let everybody off the line or stop directing traffic or everything else that happens on a big scene, especially multi-blocks where cities are affected, not just like one house in a neighborhood, which is bad enough. So we got porta-johns there, and then we could rotate through and give people breaks and things like that. And so none of this is in the manual, right, of all the process we're supposed to do and the forms we're supposed to fill out. It's just getting shit done for people that are in front of us that matter. And that's where both project managers, planning section chiefs, anyone that's a member of a team, leading a team, is where this valuable real world lesson came in to say, like, you may have all this awesome knowledge from a book or actual experience, but you don't have to use it all the time. You cater it to the needs of the people and the problems in front of you. So we got on the pizza, the porta-john, the drones, and instead of trying to like shoehorn this process into this to make it us feel better, right? We relished in the baby steps. And you can do that when you're starting to build relationships, when you want to work together better for planned events, let alone response and things like that. Just take advantage, right? Every little element you work together is a win. Making copies for someone, getting in this. Hey, they're starting to see this. So there's 5 things I'm going to talk about, and these are simple steps that will help you realize, hopefully, that it's as simple as pizza and porta-johns sometimes. And once you start working together, or you do get somewhere where it's more complex and they have more needs, then you can expand on it. The first thing is relationships first, always. Showing up, let's build the relationship. Who are you? Here's who we are. Here's how we're help. What do you need? Real talk, right? And this is both in the boardroom, which we don't really do as, let's say, the virtual call on your project early in the discovery phase or kickoff or something. We really need to build those relationships. And it's hard virtually. That's why I'm glad there's some folks getting together in person. Out in deployment, you're in person almost all the time. The second thing is to align the outcomes. What are the outcomes we want? Well, we want to have a safer environment, for the example I used, to know where people are. We want our people to be fed. We want to be able to go to the bathroom and take a break. So that's what we focused on. For projects, right, outcomes focus, what does done look like, right? That kind of agile mindset. And really that can go to any methodology. What does done look like really? It means that the patients will experience this, or the people that live in this building when we're done will be afforded this, whatever it is. The third thing is combine and align the processes. So relationships, then outcomes, then process. We do need to share processes to do it right, to be as safe as we can. In the news, all these clusters about, I don't know whose responsibility it was to cover this area is nonsense. It's just horrible planning, period. And so there's no reason for it. It's good to see some other examples, but if you go Google after you watch this video, any after action report for a big school shooting or a big disaster or something that didn't go well, they always say that people didn't train together and they weren't co-located together. And that's a symptom of not having an aligned process. The fourth thing is work together on how to do it, right? So we built a relationship. We're going to say, okay, what are the outcomes you want? Let's get a process together, which means we're going to plan a certain way. And then we're going to figure out who's going to do what. Who are the experts we have? Who don't we have? Who should we ask for? Let's bring them in. And then the fifth thing is we're going to let the team go to get shit done, right? Relationships, outcomes, process. How are we going to do it? Get it done. It really is that simple. And the terms you use, the forms you use, it doesn't really matter. It's just what's available to you and what's going to be effective for the human beings that you're there to help, whether it's a disaster, a planned event, a project that you're going to do for a year or something. That's really what matters. So if you're newer at project management or incident management or leading a business or something like that, understand process is super critical, right? It's very critical to stay together. We're on the same plan, the same process, but we shouldn't stick to it just because it's in the book. Books are good to inform us, and then we as humans use that knowledge to give out to the world, right? And so adapt your style, your team style, so that it works for the people in front of you, that you're there to help. Go to hopeisnotaplan.org for more resources, podcast episodes, tools to help you with your planning needs. Follow me and the show Hope Is Not a Plan on X and Instagram at Hope's Not a Plan. Check out the YouTube channel, approaching 500,000 views. I think we're about 7,000 from that, which I really appreciate. Sharing fitness, 15 seconds at a time. It's largely fitness, cold plunge stuff, and some jiu-jitsu now that I'm back on the mats. And there's a Hope Is Not a Plan Facebook page. Until next time, stay safe, focus on relationships, then your outcomes, then the shared process. Godspeed, y'all.